All right, ladies and gentlemen, Vincent here with the Technology Concierge. Today I'm going to be showcasing a real-world render test on the M1 MacBook Air that I recently purchased. Now, I want to make a few statements about this computer. I would love some comments on this video as far as things that y'all might want to see tutorials on. And if there's other tutorials you want to see on the Windows platform, the video that seems to be the most useful for everyone was the one that I did on Windows RAID storage spaces, specifically on the Windows platform. So if you want to see similar types of videos on the Mac platform, information on certain kinds of software, one being DisplayLink, for example, which will allow you to connect multiple displays to the M1 MacBook Air without actually having support for natively using two displays. I'm actually just using the one display, and it's a very nice 30-inch Spectra P30 that I bought. But I'm going to post links for the dock that I bought, and also I'll post a link for this DisplayLink website if you want to check that out, if that's something that you want. But what I'm going to show you is DaVinci Resolve, which is what I use for video rendering. Now, predominantly I do my editing in Adobe, and then I export it into DaVinci Resolve, and then I render from DaVinci Resolve, and I do that on my desktop platform because DaVinci Resolve allows me to utilize 100% of my GPU and my CPU at the same time, so I get the CUDA acceleration all the time while I'm doing the render, as long as it's set properly, which is something I don't get when I'm using Adobe. So when I'm rendering and encoding with Adobe, it takes forever, and I mean forever. Versus when I do it on DaVinci Resolve, it's a matter of minutes, depending on how long the video is. I mean, I can do a 2-hour video in one chunk if I wanted to in under 30 minutes. That's the difference between that or 2 hours for a 2-hour video in Adobe when I don't get any of the GPU encoding or the GPU acceleration unless I'm rendering effects. And so that's very frustrating for me. So that's why I do all the editing in Adobe and then transfer to this. So I've got my intro here. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop this over here. If y'all want more in-depth information on this program, please let me know. This is actually a free software, and it is fantastic. So if you want information on that, I'd be happy to do some videos for it. And then we're going to take this over here. Now, this clip is actually another screen recording that I did where I had an issue with a dock, my dock actually, and the Ethernet port not working properly. And yeah, it was saying self-assigned IP. And what was actually causing the issue was just a simple matter of, unplugging it and plugging it back in. But I had to renew the DHCP lease to get it to fix itself. So if that ever happens to you, you have a dock with an Ethernet port, it's plugged in, and it says self-assigned IP. Start by unplugging the cable for 30 seconds. From there, if that doesn't work, go into System Preferences. Go down to Network, find your little device, Advanced, and go from there. I'm trying to be quick there. Granted, that only has the local IPs in it, but, can't be too safe. As it stands, the effect that I'm going to apply right quick here is transition. Would help if I did that. We're going to add to selected edits and clips, just the crossfade. Now let's drag it out just a moment here. No, I don't want that. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll work. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is Control A here, Command A, I should say. And Media Pool, Timeline Attributes, Reveal and Finder. Just edit something here. All right, we're going to do quick export because I don't really need to go into too much depth here. It's in 2560 by 1080. It's only going to be in 30 frames this time around because this is just a screen recording. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the export button. And this is where I really want to bring attention to this computer and how fantastic it's really been. I can actually use this as a on-the-go editing machine for simple little things. Am I going to edit gameplay footage? No, but I actually did a gameplay footage, about 30 minutes of it, a Halo edit that I did. for some friends of mine, and this computer did it in 7 minutes, which is impressive, you know, especially for a laptop. And it did not overheat, which Apple is notorious for having cooling issues, and it seems that they fixed it with these new M1 chips. They don't need the active cooling, at least not on this one. The active cooling would benefit, but it depends on what you're using the system for. For my purposes, I couldn't justify $300 for the fan and maybe 2 hours more battery life for jumping up to the MacBook Pro, so I got the MacBook Air. All right, save. All right, let's see what happens. So right now, 5 minutes, 20 seconds. And it's going to go ahead and render the video, and then I will post it online. The one thing that I do want to mention, the dock that I have, and as I said, I'll post a link in the video description. But if you go back to System Preferences and we go to Displays, notice that it's pushing 165 hertz out of this dock. That's a really solid piece of equipment. Most docks do not push more than 60 hertz, unless they're more expensive, like generally over $100 in my experience. And even then, they don't necessarily do a very good job of it. This dock is very, very well optimized and very well made, and I'm impressed that it actually does that. It says 4K up to 60 hertz, but my assumption was it was 60 hertz across the board. I guess I was wrong. It would make sense that I was wrong in that, actually. I'm not as up to par with that kind of knowledge base as I am with other things, so, you know, there's that. I do kind of want to try the Air display, but I am not going to spend the money on the Pro XDR display. That would be, well, no. Just no. Sorry, Apple. And the stand, y'all charge $1,000 for that stand. Man, and what does it do? It goes up and down and tilts back and forth. My $300 monitor does that. Maybe not in 6K or as insane a resolution as your monitor, but at least I don't have to pay $1,000 for a stand. That's a stretch. So for those who do buy that monitor that actually have a productivity use for that monitor, which is the only reason I can see justifying the cost, I would imagine and hope it has a VESA mount on it, because if it does, use that. I'm really not an Apple fanboy, but I was so impressed with this machine that I actually decided just to go back into the fold like head on. So not only did I pick up this machine, but I also got the new iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I had an iPad already, the iPad Pro, one of the older ones that I've been using for quite some time. I used it all through college and then some still use it. And it's been fantastic to kind of have the ecosystem back. So I am actually happy about that for terms of personal stuff, particularly with schoolwork. Now I have a separate place where I can do all of my work-related things, and I can do my schoolwork in a very multitasking-friendly environment. So I'm happy about that. We got 2 minutes, 25 seconds on this video remaining, and then I'll end it, and we'll go from there. Again, though, please post comments and information all over. Note, this is what I mean by the computer not overheating. On other Mac platforms, it would be a lot hotter than this. Maybe not with this kind of a render, but with anything semi-intensive, it would be insane. I do want to point out one thing. I've seen a lot of videos, and I'm not going to specify, certain videos. That's not the point of this channel. But I have seen a lot of videos where a lot of tech guys have been on, and they've said that they can do super powerful 4K rendering and 4K editing with this thing, and they're using Final Cut. And I'm sure Final Cut is very optimized for this system, and I'm sure it does work very well. But when I see a video and there's a 17-minute clip in 4K footage, and they go on about how powerful the machine is for being able to render that 17-minute clip in 4K footage, I just want to point out that that's not a particularly intensive clip. It's a 17-minute footage. Now, if you're using After Effects and you got all kinds of special additives in there, that's a different story. But just the standard 4K footage, kind of like what I'm doing, but not in 4K, obviously, is not really a fair test, I think, for this laptop. I think if you're going to make a statement like that, you should do an hour-long render on this thing and see how hot it gets. And I would wager to say that the reason people have not done that, or at least that I have seen, I haven't seen people done that. I shouldn't say people have not done that, but I have not seen it. If people have done it, I'll probably browse and see if I can find some videos, in which case, kudos to them. But I would imagine that this temperature here, I would imagine that goes up very, very, very much if they were rendering straight on this platform for a couple of hours at a time and also doing normal day-to-day tasks. Which brings me to another point. The unified memory in this system works and is absolutely fantastic in the sense that I can do a million different things in the background while this is running, still get this done, and have plenty of unified memory left over for my day-to-day tasks. So that's pretty solid too. All right, so that marks the end of this video, and I'm going to go ahead and end it now, and I will render and post this video. Thanks for watching, guys.